bread.
You need a doctor maybe once a year, and you need a solicitor maybe once in your life, but you need a farmer 3 times a day.
Labour are meant to be a party of the people, the working people. I haven't met someone that works harder than a farmer. Yeah, you don't get holidays. You're working there 7 days a week. It's relentless, and people do it because that's their lifestyle. I think people just don't realise quite how much this country relies on farmers and the struggle they will have if they all go out of business.
This country is governed by consent, and we do not consent to tyranny, to authoritarianism, to attacks on our civil liberties.
Our sons and daughters work for a pittance all their lives, 7 days a week, all winds and weathers, and they expect to have the farm at the end of the day, and now Starmer's trying to snatch it away from them. And you can't get youngsters to do any work as it is on farms. And if there's no incentive to work, you think your farm's going to be taken away from you, there won't be no point. So it's like never and never. We've got to stand up to this.
If you had the opportunity to speak to Keir Starmer and his cabinet right now, what would you say to them?
I'd ask him to look at the figures and actually take the correct information and the right data and actually look into what a British farm provides for British people before he takes it away.
And to look for the future. You know, we provide food for the whole country, and if this is being whittled away, we're going to become more and more dependent on imports. And I know with the cost of living, you know, it's difficult and a lot of the imports are cheaper, but at the end of the day, we want to try and be as self-sufficient as we can, and this isn't the right way to go about it.
Have you been aware this has been happening all over the world for farmers, all over Europe? So during this month, so this year, there was protests all over Europe. The farmers are blocking everything.
We're farmers from Canada,
right?
And we support you.
Oh, thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
That's lovely for you to stop and say thank you.
That's really meaningful.
We wanted to come here today to be able to do that a little bit.
I think we're all fighting for the same thing.
Absolutely, it is.
It's not just about taxes and that.
And
it's
a family farm isn't a business the same way.
It's a way of life, and people don't seem to understand that. No.
I think people in the city are too far removed from life on a farm to really understand.
And it's not always their fault, you know, it's just how it is. But I think everybody needs to know. You're right.
Well, we're with you.
Thank you very much.
So I'm 5th generation farmer, of small farmer, and I don't think the public generally understand what's going on with the government in them trying to destroy all small farms. 25% of small farms in Britain will disappear. Food prices are going to soar. We've seen a great increase in food prices over the last couple of years. Tesco's and Sainsbury's, everything now is £2 or £3. Well, take another 25% of the supply chain out, and prices are going to be through the roof. You can't regenerate a farm once it's finished. You know, there's hundreds of years of breeding of animals that have been put into animals. The costs of re-implementing a farm and starting again, it's just not feasible and viable. So for anyone to have death duties and then to find that money, you know, it's just not there. It's not there, and the farms will disappear and food prices will soar.
Shit on Starmer! For your local farmer! I will spell that out for you!
Where have you guys come from today?
Folkestone in Kent.
Are you farmers?
Yes.
And why have you come here?
Because we feel really strongly about this unfair tax, and I strongly believe that if you've got something that you believe in, you stand up for it and you go and make your voice heard.
Well, the same. I think, you know, this tax, if it goes ahead, which probably will, it's just going to destroy the smaller family farms. And, you know, as we've just heard from all the speeches further back, people have worked for generations to produce food in all sorts of dreadful conditions, and it's just being eroded. So we feel very strongly about it.
Do you work on the same farm?
Yes,
together?
we're mother and daughter.
Mother and daughter.
Yes.
So how long has your farm been with you?
Oh, for over 100 years.
Maybe 150?
50, yeah.
150
Since
plus
the
years.
1850s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what do you have on your farm?
We have arable, arable, livestock and flowers.
And are you already struggling over the past couple of years?
In certain areas, absolutely, yes. And it's so volatile, you never quite know from one year to the next which problem is going to be your big problem.
You know, it's bad enough with all the sort of natural disasters, the dependence on the weather or the bad weather, and how that can affect crops and livestock and so on, without all the extras thrown in with extra taxes, increase in fuel, which I know affects everybody, but, you know, hugely for farmers with all the fuel that we have to use. So, yeah, we've really been affected.
What would you say to the public who just seem to be unaware of all of this, who are going along with what they're reading in newspapers, what they're hearing from the cabinet, which is just that it's not going to affect the regular farmers, it's targeted the rich exploiting farmland?
I think I'd just ask them to maybe do a little bit more independent thought and some research themselves. I mean, it's not just about how much is your farm worth, it's about what's on your farm. The value of an animal, for instance a cow, is huge, and that's going to be added into the cost. And if you've got a herd of cows, that's all taken into account. It's not just how much is your field worth. It's a lot more than that.
And also, farmers, it's not just about producing food, it's about taking care of the countryside and really taking care of it with the natural world, the habitats, all the environment. And people want that. People go to the countryside, there's huge tourism and so on, and yet it's on the whole, farmers that are looking after that and keeping it so that everybody can enjoy it.
It tends to be the smaller family farmers who have the contracts to clear the roads for you when it's snowing in winter.
Summer is a traitor! Summer is a traitor! Summer is a traitor! Summer is a traitor! This country is governed by consent, and we do not consent to tyranny, to authoritarianism, to attacks on our civil liberties. We stand here today in unity to show number 10, to show the World Economic Forum, to show Bill Gates, and we got a bit of a boo for these bastards. They're not just as farmers, but as people. We stand together. Who cares? They call us far right, they call us racists, they call us, we've had anti-vaxxer, we've had all sorts of horrible labels put our way when we just question mainstream narratives. But instead, we don't care because we're still here. We're still fighting. We're still standing for our rights. Because they can't win. And they keep trying. And they keep trying to shame us. They keep trying to reduce us into small, insignificant people. But the sad reality is, we aren't. And together, we have an immense amount of power and unity. Just look at this, it's just beautiful.
It's been more of a protection. The taxes, it hasn't been a loophole. It's been a protection of the land, of being able to keep generations of family farms going. You know, there isn't having to find £250,000 at the end of someone's life to keep a farm going. It's just not there. The money isn't there. It's as simple as that.
It's essentially like a land grab.
Effectively, yeah. Sadly, effectively.
What's going to happen is people are just going to end up having to sell to developers to find the cash, and then people will moan that we're building on green fields because, let's face it, they'll pay the highest prices to build houses. And that's how it's all going to get split up, and you lose the farms, you lose the land.
I've already got beacons on it.
Like Matt says, it's not going to come back.
What do you think developers will do with that land when they grab it?
Well, it's going to be built for houses, but again, are the houses ever being built for communities these days? They're not. They're huge developers making huge profits. They're not being built for local people. They're not being built for social housing. They've got it. The whole ethos is wrong. So that land, when it is grabbed, it isn't. It's the developers that are making the money.
Yeah.
You know, millions and millions of pounds. So how is that right? Food costs are going to rocket.
Is there enough land in the UK, enough farmland at the moment to sustain the country itself?
No, not at all.
That would mean food will have to be imported.
Even more food will need to be imported, and that's the point. Is I think people don't appreciate is there's already a lot that's imported, but it just means the price is going to go up.
And they don't seem to realise that actually other countries that the food is coming from need that food as well. There isn't that surplus. There just isn't that surplus. You know, as was demonstrated with COVID. You know how quickly the shelves emptied there. Well, there's no supply chain coming in on those boats. Then you've only got what you've got at home. So
how did supply chains work? So if things are coming from Italy, I mean, is it all independent people to sending things over, or are there certain groups at the top?
A lot of, well, again, it's huge buying power by the supermarkets, that are feeding the masses, and which they've screwed the farmers for the last 20, 30 years with the commodity price of what they're getting for the food. It's just not there. The money isn't there. But you cannot. Once it's gone, it's gone. You won't get it back.
So the supermarkets during like COVID lockdown, they were doing all right.
Hello, mate.
Supermarkets did fantastically.
So they're the ones who they're the big guns here. They're the ones who
we back this way. Totally and utterly.
Thank you. The supermarkets are the ones who will benefit from this. They'll get the food anyway.
They will,
Everyone will buy the food
but they'll just push the prices further and further.
What would you say to the current establishment?
They need to talk to people that live it. It's just so out of line with what people are living, and they are coming across as just not listening to the people. I mean, Labour are meant to be a party of the people, the working people, and I haven't met someone that works harder than a farmer. You don't get holidays. You're working 7 days a week. It's relentless, and people do it because that's their lifestyle. I think people just don't realise quite how much this country relies on farmers and the struggle they will have if they all go out of business.
You need a doctor maybe once a year, and you need a solicitor maybe once in your life, but you need a farmer 3 times a day.
I come from near Newbury in Berkshire, and I'm here to support the farmers for the life that has been thrust upon them.
And so you a farmer yourself?
No, I don't farm, but we live in the country, and we're involved with the country itself. We appreciate how much the farmers do, which I think the ordinary person in the street doesn't realise. They just think it arrives on the shelf.
But why is that?
A bit more climate change.
Why do you think that is?
Why do you think? I just don't think it's taught at schools, or we're not aware of it. There's so much food around, so much choice, and we all think it just comes in packets.
It grows from the supermarket tree.
Yes, yeah, and yes, that's right. And the 6 inches of subsoil and water is what is needed when the farmers to grow food.
But there's one thing I see online, that people are going with the government narrative. It's not going to affect the regular farmers. It's only the rich people who are using farming land as an excuse to avoid inheritance tax. Right? Now there are people who believe that, who are going along with that. And what do you say to these people?
We'll come into the country and find out.
Speak to the people that live
Speak to the people that live there, yes.
Because we're not all rich and landed and live in the high life. We are. My dad used to sell eggs, had chickens for eggs, and he had to stop it because he was pushed out and out and out. And there's very few egg farmers now in our area because they just can't afford it. And it's the margins. They live on the edges of the margins, and big taxes like this you can't account for. Insurance won't cover it. Insurance will be expensive if you had to cover it, and it's not feasible.
What would you say to Keir Starmer and his establishment, his cabinet?
Think again, come out into the countryside and see how we really live.
So thank you very much.
No farmers, no food, ladies.
Exactly.
I'm here to topple a corrupt government and a globalist agenda.
You speak more about the globalist agenda?
Well,
and the connection, because
the
what people
WF
don't realise.
Our biggest enemy at the world at the moment is a guy called Klaus Schwab and the Rockefellers. In their quest for oil, they don't give a shit what they do to all of us. Yes, sir. Yes, we're going for a digital future. I've got nothing against technology, but they're using it against us.
So this step with the farmers, it's all part of it.
It's something to plant a flag on, yes. I believe that what these guys are trying to do today is achievable, which is why I'm here as well. I don't like fighting lost causes. And what they're doing is basically wrong. Wrong. They've picked on a soft target rather than an effective one, and I believe that's wrong. So I would stand. I'm also here against the fuel payments to old age pensioners. Yeah, shit on Starmer for your local farmer. Shit on Starmer for your local farmer.
Good man. Get that out there.
Mr. Prime Minister, why do you hate farmers?
I don't hate farmers, I love them. I'm a liar.
Oh yeah.
All the knees up. All the knees.
Where'd you come from today?
Yorkshire.
Why'd you come here?
Because the family farm tax is wrong, and it's going to affect a lot of farmers in a bad way. So,
Are you from a farm yourself?
yeah, we're from a family farm. So, yeah, I think Keir Starmer's policy is wrong, and honestly, I think it's just a bit brain dead of a policy. Really, I don't think there's any need for it.
Where'd you come from today?
Devon. Exmoor farmers from Devon.
Why'd you come here today?
Well, we come here to say how cruel this tax is going to be for the family farmers. Our sons and daughters work for a pittance all their lives, 7 days a week, all winds and weathers, and they expect to have the farm at the end of the day, and now Starmer's trying to snatch it away from them. And you can't get youngsters to do any work as it is on farms, and if there's no incentive to work, you think your farm's going to be taken away from you, there won't be no point. So it's like never, never. We've got to stand up to this.
And then there'll be foreign food. And that, the best food in the country comes from the British farmers. So without that, we're doomed. The country's doomed without the farming family. So without that, I don't know what's gonna happen.
You guys are struggling already.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just.
We learned from one crisis to another.
Yeah, and
it's BSE, foot and mouth, TB. We were locked down for 18 months with TB, 400 cattle to feed, and the banks didn't even want to know us. What were we meant to do? We've had to struggle through thick and thin, and now this is the last straw, taking our farms away because of the tax. Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, with this at the moment, the knock-on effect it already has. Our farms are already struggling. Our farms are already planning to.
Yeah, and farmers are the biggest rate in suicide in the country.
Really?
Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah. So I mean, this is just going to tip a lot of people over the edge. It's just
what will happen if the British farmers start losing their land? What's going to happen?
Well,
exactly.
The countryside will be gone.
It'll be all big business. They'll be putting food prices up, and you'll be held to ransom.
And there'll be rubbish food coming from all the other countries.
We got the highest welfare standards for livestock in the world. You put in cheap stuff from foreign countries that don't look after and don't feed their animals properly.
Have health implications in the future.
So essentially, look, you think, I'll get to the point, this is a land grab.
Well, it is.
Of course it is.
It is.
Yeah. Some of the most important landowners in the country.
It's Labour's payback for the miners, what they're saying. But what's that got to do with our farmers? I don't know. And it's just a class thing.
But this has been happening all over the world. Like India, there's massive farmers protests.
That's it.
Here in 2020.
We've seen that.
In Holland, everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like a global agenda.
Yeah.
It's their plan.
It's all for the big business. All the small family people, they don't want to know. They just want to grab.
What would you say? What would you say to the public who don't really understand what's happening?
Support us, back us, do what you can. Buy British. Buy British where you can. Support the local family farms, and try and go local as you can. That's what I'd say.
We've come up last night. We've been on the London Underground. Everyone's supporting us. I think people do know really, but it's just such a damn outrage really.
What would you say to the establishment?
Good one.
Who are pushing this forward?
Make the U-turn.
Make a U-turn on it, for Christ's sake. It's too late.
Do the decent thing and do a U-turn and back the British farmer, which ultimately backs the country.
Are you guys prepared to come out more often?
Oh, we would do. We could close the country down if we wanted to, but we don't want to. We don't want to cause trouble. But if they mean to threaten us or actually our families, that's the last straw.
How long have you had your farm?
100 years. 100 years. Yeah.
That was a last minute thought. Were you? Oh, good on you.
But hopefully it won't go that way.
Hope not.
No.
We don't need governing by authoritarianism, by globalists, by people with invested interest in taking down working, good, ordinary people.